My friends, with the passing of the giving of thanks comes the marrying of the Christmas. So, I wanted to make a video about some cozy games for winter. Not necessarily just for Christmas, because I know not everybody celebrates Christmas, but you get what I mean. So, let's get into it. Now, I want to start off by saying that the games I have on this list are not necessarily going to be cozy in the traditional sense, but I do find them to be very chill, at least. So, what I mean by cozy in the traditional sense is like, a lot of people when they think of a cozy game, they think of something like, I don't know, Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley or, you know, whatever, stuff like that. Real casual, easygoing kind of games that don't really have a lot of stakes. And while I do think that games like that are totally fine, they're cozy and stuff, they're just not really my jam. I don't have a problem with them, I just don't play them. I haven't played any Stardew Valley, which I'm sure I'll change at some point. And I've played a little bit of Animal Crossing, just a little bit. Unfortunately, I was really late to that game's hype, especially with New Horizons. I was really late to that game. I didn't play it till like 2023 or something, but anyway, that's beside the point. Just wanted to say, there aren't going to be some very traditional, cozy games on this list. These are just games that I particularly find to be chill, and like the kind of game that you could just cuddle up with a controller on a snowy night and just vibe out, you know what I mean? So without further ado, let's get into the first game on our list, which is Mirror's Edge. Is a game that I think about like probably once a year, and then every couple years I might go back and play it again, because it's one of those games to me that just has such a strong atmosphere, you know? It's got this clean, futuristic look. The soundtrack is like God singing in your ears. Oh, maybe that's a little bit of a little bit overdramatic, but it's a very smooth soundtrack that goes very well with the visuals of the game. But then, moreover, you also have the gameplay itself, which is essentially just free running through levels in this big, almost cyberpunk-esque city that's all white with these like striking colors, and it's fun. It's so fun. And when you get into the flow state of the game and you're just, you know, you're hitting all these parkour moves and the music is going, or you're dodging bullets and kicking dudes in the face, it's so much fun. I think Mirror's Edge would it be too early to call it a classic? Maybe not. I mean, the game's like 15 years old at this point, so maybe you could say it's classic, but it is one of those games in my mind that has definitely stood the test of time, and it's one that I really love to come back to every now and again. And even though it might not be the most coziest game, it is definitely a very chill game that you could probably beat over a weekend, if not in a night or two, if you were really dedicated to it. So something chill, something easy that you can just skate on through. It's Mirror's Edge, baby. Up next, we have one of my personal favorite games of all time, and that is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, there isn't really a whole lot I can say about Breath of the Wild that hasn't already been said. The game is beautiful, it has a strong sense of exploration and discovery, and the combat is fun and engaging. And truthfully, I think if I had to describe it in like a sentence, it's almost like a Ghibli movie that you can play through, which is fitting because the developers were actually inspired by films like Princess Mononoke while they were making it. In fact, if you've played the game but never seen that movie, highly recommend it because the movie is really good. But if you watch it, you'll see where a lot of the inspiration for Breath of the Wild may have come from. And again, it's one of those games, I guess it's sort of unlike Mirror's Edge. They're almost like direct opposites, because Breath of the Wild is open world. You can just run around at your own pace in this beautifully soft world. Like, when I think of Breath of the Wild, I think of like a painting in motion. Like, it just doesn't, it doesn't have a lot of jagged edges. It's just very satisfying, very smooth to play through. And because it has such a strong focus of exploration and discovery, you don't ever really feel like you have to go and do something. I mean, literally, after you finish the tutorial, you're told to go beat Ganon, and that's it. That's all you have to do to beat the game. So everything you do after that, you can do at your own pace, and you don't have to feel guilty about it, which is something I always feel sort of bad about with like open world games, is because they're like, oh my gosh, you need to go over to this temple and rescue this person, they've been kidnapped, and then I spend the next 3 hours just hunting for like shark skin to upgrade my wallet. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's not really that sort of narrative disconnect, because everything you're doing is either helping the people of Hyrule or helping yourself get more powerful to go defeat Ganon. So yeah, I love it so much. It was a game that I played for the first time in 2020, and it definitely changed my view of games, generally speaking. It's one of my favorites of all time, and I suppose you could substitute Tears of the Kingdom for Breath of the Wild, but I think in terms of coziness, Breath of the Wild has it beat, because Tears of the Kingdom, while it is still a phenomenal game, it just has so much going on that Breath of the Wild doesn't. You know, Tears of the Kingdom has way much more story, it's got way more mechanics, it's got different, you know, it's just, Tears of the Kingdom is a much more complicated game in my mind. Again, not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're looking for maximum coziness, I think Breath of the Wild is definitely where you want to go, especially because it's on Switch, dude. You can literally just like cuddle up with like 100 blankets and some soft pillows and play this thing handheld, and it's gonna be a chill ass time. The next game on my list here is actually one that I sort of have a tradition with when it comes to wintertime, because when I first played Ghost of Tsushima, I played it on PS4 in January when I had a day off from work and school, and it was snowing outside so heavily. I remember it. I remember sitting in my living room and playing it on my PS4 and just watching the snow fall outside, and it was so freaking calm, man. I was so in the moment at that time. I was in the zone, that's what I'm trying to say. I was in the zone. And again, it's another game that has very rewarding exploration, in that just traveling around the island is fun in and of itself, because you're almost always going to find something that will pull you off the beaten path and make you want to explore everything it's got. That goes for like side quests, collectibles, upgrades, the whole 9 yards. And the fact that the island of Tsushima itself is just, it's gorgeous, dude, especially if you play it on PS5, which is actually how I beat the game for the first time. I know I talked about like playing it on PS4, but I didn't actually complete it that time. And I waited a few years before I got my PS5 again and Ghost of Tsushima, but I waited until it snowed again so that I could sort of relive that moment. And again, the stars kind of aligned. I had a day off of work, it was snowing real hard, and I finally sat down and I started it on PS5, and I loved it. In fact, I loved it so much that I platinumed it. And I don't platinum games very often. I don't 100% complete games very often, but Ghost of Tsushima, it pulled me in, and it hit so good. It was such a chill game. It was beautiful. The combat is so goddamn fun to play around with and to master. Like, when I first played, I sort of got the idea of how to do it, like how to fight and stuff, but by the end of the game, I really felt like a samurai master. Dude, I was cutting through crowds of people, crowds of Mongols like it was nothing. Just an awesome game, And on top of that, it has an excellent story, I think. No spoilers here, but I found the story to be very gripping and very motivational for me to keep going forward. And oddly enough, it sort of does that thing like Breath of the Wild did in a different way, that like I don't feel bad for going out and exploring the open world between main missions. I can't really describe why right here, right now, but if that's something that usually bothers you in like open world games, you know, doing side quests and stuff, I can say pretty confidently that Ghost of Tsushima is a good game for you. It definitely does not feel like you're wasting time by going out and doing side quests, at least to me. Absolutely love it, and I am so excited for Ghost of Yotei to come out. I am beyond excited for that game. So, the next game I have on my list here is one that was, I should say, divisive for me the first time that I played it. Because when I first played Metroid Prime on the GameCube, I loved it, but at the same time, I found it to be very clunky, and that's just because it was a game that it's a shooter that doesn't use twin stick controls, right? So, you know that playing it is gonna be a little bit rough, no matter who you are, what have you, unless you've just played it so many times that you're used to it. But I didn't mind playing it at first. I mean, obviously it was a little clunky, but when I got to the Phazon mines, it just absolutely killed it. It killed the game for me, and I hated it a little bit. Like, I liked it, but it was sort of this, like, bittersweet sort of feeling of, like, yeah, I beat the game, and the ending was pretty fun, but after the Phazon mines, it was just ruined for me. But I liked it enough that when they announced the remaster on Nintendo Switch, I came back to it, and having the updated control scheme made me love and appreciate the game for what it is. And I gotta say, Metroid Prime now is definitely in my top 3 Metroid games. You know, it's fighting for that second place spot with Super Metroid, but that's more of a topic for another video. And again, like a lot of these games, it's got this immersive, beautiful world. Talon 4 is just a joy to run through and explore. It's got an amazing soundtrack. I think Metroid Prime is probably my favorite Metroid soundtrack. You know, I was so happy when they released the Nintendo Music app and Metroid Prime was on there for like at the very start. It was like one of the first things on there. And I was just so happy, and I listened to it, and I loved it. Every single track is just a banger, and it adds so much to the game. I really can't sing the soundtrack's praises enough. But then, in the game itself, you also have, like, the scan visor ability, which you walk around a beautiful world, and you're listening to these just immaculate tunes, and then you're scanning these little tidbits of lore, and the suit is telling you about all this stuff, and there's all sorts of logs to read, and little bits of Chozo lore or Space Pirate lore that you can read up on. It's awesome. It really helps flesh out the world and make it feel more lived in, despite the fact that the game also has a strong sense of isolation. But that, to me, is like the whole point of Metroid, is that you're like alone exploring this world and fighting these pirates or aliens or whatever Samus is getting up to. And I think that, to me, is partly why it's on this list, is because that sort of isolation and the quiet exploration that it provides is just perfect for that sort of, you know, late night, snowing, you're all cuddled up playing a game. It's just perfect, dude. It really is. Metroid Prime, I really think you can't go hard, or go wrong, rather, with either the remastered or the original. I know the remaster is going to be way more widely available to most people these days, but if for some reason you only have a GameCube, and you only have the ability to buy GameCube games, which I don't know who you are, but I respect it, I don't think you could go wrong with the original either. Though I would say the remaster is probably the better route. Now, the next one on my list here is one that I sort of came up with just out of nowhere, and it's a little difficult to sort of narrow it down, but I decided that if you're going to talk about Mario games, you need to pick at least a 2D one and a 3D one, because 3D Mario doesn't quite play like 2D Mario and vice versa, but I think they're both valid, and I think they both can be very cozy and fun to just play through. So the 2 Mario games I picked for this list, at least, is Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Mario Odyssey. Now, I guess the best way I could go about this would just be to speak about both games generally, because Wonder, I'm not a 2D platformer guy, okay? I don't really enjoy 2D platformers all that much. I'm bad at them, and they frustrate the heck out of me sometimes, and more often than not, if I'm playing one, I'm playing it just to beat it. And that's kind of how it was with Super Mario Bros. Wonder, but the game was just so charming and so fun that I couldn't put it down, and I couldn't, like, not have fun playing it, if that makes sense. It was just a really fantastic game, and that's really all I have to say about it. And I guess the same thing could be said for Super Mario Odyssey. It was another Switch game. It was like the first one that I played alongside Breath of the Wild back in 2020, and it was actually the first 3D Mario I completed. And first of all, Odyssey just has a ton of content. I mean, like, if you are looking for a game that you could spend like 50 hours in up to like 500 hours in, Odyssey is your game. There is so many collectibles and so many like movement tricks that you can learn, and the levels, like I said, they just have so much to discover and explore in that it's just a joy to play through. So if you're looking for it, I would say literally any Mario game would probably work, but if I had to pick 2, I would say Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Odyssey would be good places to start. And they're both available on Switch, so, I mean, if you have a Switch, freaking snag them, dude. Pick them up. Have a good time. Have a chill night playing some Mario. Okay, so I know that I said this list wasn't gonna have any traditional cozy games, you know, like in the Animal Crossing Stardew Valley vein, but I don't think you could make a list of cozy games and not include Minecraft, especially if you're able to play it on PC and put some shaders on there. I think playing Minecraft with shaders is so chill. It is so cozy, especially when you're like inside your house and the world around you is just darkness, but inside your house is just like softly lit by the torches, and it's so nice, man. It's so nice. Minecraft is obviously an iconic game. Everybody has played it at this point, or at the very least you've heard of it. And I think part of the reason why it's so popular is because it's just so relaxing. It's a game that you can play pretty much however you want at your own pace. You can load up a survival world, and your only intention can just be to build a log cabin by a lake and farm till the end of days. Maybe you go mining and trading with some villagers, maybe you don't. Or maybe you decide you want to go slay God in an alternate dimension. You can do that too, or you can just boot up creative and go build a giant castle in the middle of a flatland that nobody is ever going to see except for you. But that's fine. It's just fun. And on top of all of it, you have an absolutely iconic, calming soundtrack. I think you put a picture of like Minecraft Alpha, snowy Minecraft Alpha, and you play some C418 over it, people are gonna get in their feelings like super fast. And I am one of those people. I would know. You know, the soundtrack to the game is just perfect for the vibe, and yeah. On top of that, it can be played with friends. So, you know, you don't even have to play this one by yourself. You can hop on with the homies and just go I don't know, kill some villagers and pigs and build a really crappy house or blow up your friend's base or something. I don't know. Any game is fun with friends. But yeah, it's really all I have to say about Minecraft. You know it, I know it, you love it, I love it. Alright, the penultimate choice, or the penultimate item on my list here is Call of Duty Zombies, and that goes for any game that really has the mode. Sort of in the same vein as my Mario choice, I'm just gonna say that any COD Zombies is a good choice. But I will say that Black Ops 3 is probably the best choice overall, just for the pure fact that it's reasonably new, and it's a pretty good deal. Like, you can buy Black Ops 3 and Zombies Chronicles, and you'll have a great selection of maps that you can play through. On top of that, pretty much all of the DLC for Black Ops 3 is a home run. I mean, Der Eisendrache, Gorod Krovi, Revelations. I mean, Revelations is kind of iffy. I know a lot of people either love it or hate it, but I like Revelations for what it is. Zetsubo is kind of mid, but the entirety of Zombies Chronicles is amazing, and I think it's just a great, chill game. You can just throw on some music and slay some zombies and have a good time. And this is also another one that's multiplayer and can be played with friends, which only enhances the fun. So, COD Zombies in general, Black Ops 3, if I had to be specific, would probably be the best one. So, yeah. And last, but certainly not least, we have a game that is very near and dear to my heart that I will most certainly be making a dedicated video on someday in the future. And that game is Omori. And I say that because, to me, Omori just has this very strong, deep story with engaging characters that I grew to love over the course of my playtime. And if you know the game, you know there's kind of a darker side to it. I mean, if you look at, like, gameplay or screenshots, you might look at it and think, like, okay, this just looks like some Undertale kind of thing, but... And while it's definitely inspired by something like Undertale and Earthbound or whatever, the story just really spoke to me personally, and that was why I loved it so much. But the story aside, the game just has a very, quote-unquote, soft and cozy atmosphere for both the visuals and the music. I grew up playing Pokemon on my Game Boy Advanced. I played Pokemon Emerald religiously as a kid, okay? And so this sort of like 2D top-down pixelized style, it hits me right in the nostalgia because it reminds me of my childhood, but then you got the excellent soundtrack composed by Omocat, or I think it was Omocat. It might be someone else, or just the team more generally. Anyway, I'll have credits up on screen after I look it up. But the game is just amazing. And one thing for me that really hits home is the battle system, because as I've gotten older, I've sort of gotten bored with the like turn-based combat systems. I either find them too easy or like way too difficult, and neither one is particularly engaging for me. But Omori has a sort of system in the game based around emotions, and different emotions, you know, it's like regular RPG mechanics where one emotion is strong against one kind but weak against another. And the thing is that these emotional states of the characters can change dynamically throughout the game. So it's not like you have like your fire types, your grass types, your water types. You can go from like mad to sad to happy, and then there's like different shades of those emotions that are, you know, stronger as you go up. And I think that's really cool because it helped the gameplay in my mind, or the battles, feel more dynamic. Like, it wasn't just set in stone. Like, I could build up my character to have a particularly strong emotion and gear them up to attack the enemy, and then the enemy could just completely flip that around on me. And I think that was really fun. And it also fits thematically with, like, the ideas of the game's story and stuff like that. But I really wanted to highlight that battle system because, to me, for me especially, it made the turn-based combat just a little more fun. It made it a little more engaging for somebody who doesn't really enjoy turn-based combat much anymore. So, that's Omori. I really have more to say on it, but for the sake of keeping this video brief and not be focused on just one thing, that's where I'm gonna leave it. Absolutely love it. Highly, highly recommend it to anybody watching this video. I wouldn't say it's the coziest game on this list, but it's up there. It's up there. But that brings us to the end of this list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope maybe you go out and try a couple of these games that I had on here. I might turn this into a sort of annual thing, you know, maybe every year I come out and I just tell you guys some cozy games that you can play as the winter season draws near, because, you know, when things are gonna slow down, you're gonna spend more time at home. It can be helpful to have a little list of suggested games to try if you've never done it, or if you've never played them. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for giving me your time. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Peace!